Hello, welcome to episode 23 of the J Situation Podcast. The J Situation Podcast is brought to you by Pew Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. I'm here today with a super special guest, Mr. Kevin Brittingham from Q.
Oh.
I've spent the entire weekend and Friday with Q and Kevin and his team and everything. So we have about an hour to, I did his podcast and now he has about an hour to do mine before I have to get on a plane. So how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you visited. It's been great having you. I'm glad you got to see the company and build some stuff and talk to the actual engineers that we actually employ that actually have degrees and see what we do and why.
It's so cool. Yeah, and I got to build fixed rifles, built a mini fix and then a full-size 308 fix with the design team.
Yeah.
Which was like one of the most amazing experiences for me. Just to be able to see how the guns, got put together, but also how the guns are designed and why they're designed the way they are. So, I don't know, before we get started, is there anything you want to tell people that, you sometimes don't get a chance to say or
I don't know. I pretty much say whatever I want.
You pretty much do, right?
But if you think there's something I need to say.
Well, how about I start going through some questions that I had prepared.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where it takes us.
That's cool, because I was just thinking about what you were saying then to add to it. It's a cool experience for us to be able to do customer builds, because I see like the online drama, and of course that's the people that'll listen to this, and the perceptions of us or me and then the company, and the reality of we open up Fridays for customer build days just to allow people, anyone that buys a gun can come and build it with the engineering teams that designed it. And the fix is a special one, so I was so glad you did that, because the Honey Badger is just so similar to an AR. It's still cool to build your own gun, but there's not, a lot of mystery in that gun. But the fix is so interesting and so different. And to build it with the team that designed it, to understand every part of the gun is for a particular reason.
There's parts of that gun that are
and how difficult it was and how complex it is, but then how beautiful and simple the gun is. And to me, that's a real special one, so I was glad you were able to build that.
Yeah, and one of the things I noticed, everything from the trigger to the firing mechanism to the receiver, there's things in there that, they look cool, but there's just features that are so important for function that I hope everyone listening to this, if you're into that type of gun, or you're thinking about getting it, and you have some kind of opinion of it that may be preconceived, either positive or negative, I hope you have an opportunity to dig in deeper about those rifles and give it your opinion based on facts. And if you can come to Q and do it, I think that would probably be the best.
Oh yeah. Most people haven't ever even handled one.
Yeah.
And I think what's exciting to me is to do things that people don't even know that they need yet.
Yeah.
But if I can only have 3 guns ever the rest of my life, the fix is one. I like to target shoot. I hunt all the time.
Yeah.
I want utility weapons. And so the Honey Badger and the fix and the Silence 22 are the only guns I ever use anymore. And, and I have lots of guns just like you do. And I use it for practical reasons. Just hunting primarily for me now. And the gun is it was a game changer for me. And it's likely to be the most important contribution that any of me or my team now will ever make to the industry, I believe. I always hope the next thing is the biggest thing. But, part of that, like I told you yesterday with the fix, it was timing. It was our motivation, because we had all worked at a big company for a couple years and we're kind of drowning in just the mediocrity and the bureaucracy and the bullshit that goes along with a big company. And we so wanted to just kick ass and be free and do something that we knew people didn't even know they needed.
Exactly.
And so replicating even that timing and that excitement is difficult. And now as the company's grown and we have a lot more financial resources, it's difficult, because we started the company only 4 years ago. And you think about that, what we've accomplished already. the silencers, the mounting systems, things that lead the industry that are copied by everybody. The Honey Badger bringing that to market in several different configurations. The fix, the mini fix, it's 4 years. So like everybody's just like we just finished running a marathon. But now, now we're growing production, and that's very important to the company long term and currently. But now me stepping back as like the CEO, because the company's to that point, we're at a fork in the road, and we have to focus on production. And that's important, but we also have to focus on continuing innovation. So we have to separate the company at this point in a lot of regards. Like you saw, you built your gun with the engineers that designed it, but now we have assembly people.
Yes, I saw those too, yeah.
But you build the guns, if you come to a customer build, with the engineers, because the engineers designed the gun, they built all the fixturing, the QC parameters and requirements, everything. And they built and test fired every gun for accuracy, every single one. Engineers did until last fall. And so now we have an assembly team that does that works in conjunction with them. But if you come into a customer build, you actually build it with engineers, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's like the most unique thing that I really actually don't know any other thing you would do. I know that some people travel to see their Corvette being built, or they see things like that, but to the design engineers, yeah, you're never gonna do that.
No, not with that. I mean, in long term, it'll be interesting because I'm not sure it's sustainable as we grow.
Yeah.
And I've got some ideas because we always want to do it because we all love it. You come and you drink beer, we get to tell you about the gun, we hang out like a lot of people just like you. You stay the weekend and we do stuff together. So it's a great experience because we get excited about it. Like it costs me thousands of dollars every time someone comes to build it.
Oh, dude, I know. Like I could tell. I almost like when I walked in the building, I felt guilty because like, dude, I know what it takes to like run an engineering business, and I was just like, yep, I am taking hours right now.
I mean, you think the average salary is close to $100,000 at Q.
Yeah.
And, half the employees on customer build days are dedicated to customer builds right now. So financially, it makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But, for me, it's part of the marketing and the grassroots campaign and part of the education. Because it's real easy for whether it's Christensen Arms or SIG or Remington, to build something that aesthetically looks like the fix. But how do we educate people, And some are going to believe whatever they're going to believe, but when we have a chance, especially someone like yourself, an engineer involved in the industry, you have a high level technical understanding of things. All we have to do is show you.
That's right. And it's a good segue into people that have been listening to my podcast, they've been asking, when are we going to do 300 blackout testing? Well, the reality is I've already done some 300 blackout testing, but the only 300 blackout testing I've been doing is with an old AAC 9-inch upper that you guys did. Yeah. Non-adjustable gas block.
That's the OG. That's what we sold to SOCOM.
Yeah, and so I did that, but then through the research and people have been following along, we're doing some experimental stuff with back pressure research with bolt guns, and you and I had a conversation about, well, what should be the standard barrel length for bolt gun 300 blackout testing? What kind of gun should it be? And I think due to the novel nature, and I'm going to say that confidently, I know it might sound like I'm bragging, but due to the novel nature of what I'm doing, I think it only makes sense to have a novel weapon be the test host, and that's why I built a mini fix yesterday for it.
That's so cool, because like we talked about 300 blackout, which we commercialized 300 Whisper. That J.D. Jones had developed. And we did that for SOCOM. But we changed it, like going from 223 to 556. And we designed the correct bullets where it'll be reliable.
Right.
So we did all these things. But where we had an advantage there is, the SOCOM actually picked the barrel length of 9 inches, but that's what the Barnes 110 bullet and the loads were developed for, was 9-inch barrel. So, and the reality now is we've gotten faster twists, which you understand, because the original ones were 1 in 7, now we're 1 in 5. So we can go a little shorter with the barrel, but still get the full energy and effectiveness of the ammo that was developed for a slower twist 9-inch barrel. So that makes sense to you, and you may have to explain that, or...
Well, I've explained to people several times that, 300 blackout, it only makes sense to use it in a short barrel due to its effectiveness in short barrel, and you can do that with supersonic or subsonic, and the fact that you want the most energy on target with a subsonic round, and because we're limited in velocity, the only way to increase that energy is increase the mass. And when you increase the mass and you're limited by the external diameter, you have to get longer. And when you have longer projectiles, they become unstable in flight due to the moment arm created by the pressure center being different than the center of gravity. Right. And so you have to spin it faster.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And the thing too, you can only get so long because you got to feed that thing through an AR-15 magazine.
That's correct.
So then where can you get more energy? Because it's not just stability for accuracy, but then when you, because everything's squared, so when you increase the twist rate,
the rotational velocity,
you're increasing energy and energy on target without increasing linear velocity.
Exactly.
So it's pretty novel, and I'm sure, especially with it being us, everybody's going to go, oh, this was done, in the 1700s with Canada.
People are going to say all kinds of things that they think are correct.
But this is why it's important. It's because I always love when I see on some of this stuff, people send it to me, Q's just hype machine. Well, okay, we have back orders to probably prove otherwise, and then involvement with military. And then when you think about when we developed 300 Blackout, not only did the they were haters too, they just worked with us at Remington, said the same thing, that it was not going to work. 300 Blackout was just a marketing ploy. And okay, so now we have 10 years of it commercially produced under our belt. Most successful cartridge, it and 6.5 Creedmoor, the only two successful cartridges that have been introduced in, decades.
Yeah.
Like, what's new? 40 caliber already died, 357 SIG.
Yeah.
Whatever. What else is out there?
I don't know.
17 HMR, that's a good one. That one's successful and it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. You can bullet prairie dogs with and stuff if you want.
But otherwise, everything else has failed.
Yeah, that's true. And so that's like why, everyone was wondering, well, what are you going to do? When are you going to do 300 Blackout? I actually pinged a bunch of manufacturers. Like I've been telling you, I've been talking to all the manufacturers. I talked to Silencer Co. R&D. I talked to Josh out there, and I was like, hey, I think I'm gonna build a mini fix for this testing, and this is why. Yeah. And if you have any reasons why you think that's not the optimal choice, let me know. And I've let a lot of people know that, and I've not gotten one negative connotation from any manufacturer, industry entity, anybody. And so it's like, a lot of people like to talk shit, but when the rubber meets the road,
back it up.
Not only that, but when the rubber meets the road and like you start asking technical questions based on, facts and like what's best for certain things, there's no room for, speculation. It's more like, okay, no, this makes sense. And I try to ask objective questions to people when I interact with them, like manufacturers, because I'm not like, sure, like it's cool to make friends with you guys. Like obviously, like I've spent like this past 3 days getting to know you. Yeah. And I'm here to tell people listening, like, don't believe the shit you're reading on the internet about Kevin. Like, and he's gonna like blush right now or something, but like, just relax, guys. Like
Well, I think it's like, listen, you always need, like you don't have, you don't ever have heroes without having an enemy.
That's true.
And people need to have this, and especially like younger people, like growing up on the internet. People, I don't know, like the personal stuff is just so weird because like I'm a grown ass man, like I make mistakes, but let's dig into anybody's personal life. But it is interesting that people only care about my personal life, which I find odd. But I don't, to me, I don't care how you judge me. I didn't start a company, and my passion in this industry started when I was young, and I started Advanced Armament at 19. I don't care about making friends in this industry. I don't care about getting along with everybody. I don't care about awards. I don't care about, I don't want to be on the board of the NRA. I don't fucking care about being politically correct. I don't care about hurting people's feelings. I care about being the best, and my contributions, that's fulfilling to me. Yeah. And no matter what you say, I could end up in prison for the rest of my life. You're not going to take away the accomplishments that we have. Like 300 Blackout, go ahead and make the excuse. Like developing the welders that everyone uses now to weld their silencers, doing the 1 3/4 silencer, large volume with no other tube, the mounting systems, all the military contracts that we won with SOCOM, the monolithic silencers for that, the machine gun silencers they bought, the sniper rifle silencers, all of SOCOM using silencers. We played a huge part in that. continuing to develop ammo, developing the fixed rifle, developing the Honey Badger. We did the Honey Badger in 2 weeks. We did the fixed rifle from beginning to end in 6 months. Like, I know who I am. I know what our team's accomplished, and like, number one, there is no industry trophy for these things.
No, well, it's a thankless. There's no industry trophy for any design.
Yeah, but everybody,
any industry.
everybody that hates on me, or hates on the company, they're all shooting 300 blackout. That only happened because of me. Like, that's it, period.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that on your podcast yesterday. The contributors to that and like how it happened. And I've talked to all the engineers. I've talked to these engineers that design these freaking rifles, man. I've talked to the people doing it, and I'm here to tell the people listening, like, if you want to know like the truth about stuff, call the company, and they might talk to you about it, or they might not. But at least it'll be the company instead of like
send a message,
or send a message to Kevin on Instagram or something.
Yeah, you showed me on your Instagram this morning things that people said, oh, well, Q lies about this. Okay, well, what do we lie about? And
then we actually asked the gentleman. We asked the gentleman what did Kevin lie about? Like in real time, I was sitting there with Kevin, and he started listing these things that he had heard that Kevin lied about, and we went line by line, and we're like, well, no, Kevin said that, but it's because X, Y, Z. No, Kevin did say this, but this, and no, Kevin didn't say that.
Yeah,
it's like, you know what I mean?
But just the point that people care, like, you care about me or my personal life is ridiculous. It's like, only buy our products because of merit. That's the only reason I want anything in life. Because I love the whole idea of, the marketing, the hype beast stuff, and we did the Honey Badger in a different color be this way. Like, no, we were never selling the Honey Badger commercially. That's the way it was done for the most elite fighting group in the entire history of the world. And there's reasons for it. Like when we talked about not coating muzzle devices.
That's right.
Or all of these things, there's reasons for it, but I only want your money based on merit and that it's the best thing. And I stand behind the fact that the Honey Badger, the Fix, our products are the best value. Like, I know what it took. The Fix should cost $10,000.
The engineering time alone is excessive.
Yeah, but we're playing the long game, and I'm willing to risk and sacrifice to be the best because I'm competitive, and I love the industry in this sense. I love the customers, no matter if it's the military or the commercial guys. Like, if you spend your hard-earned money or money you inherited on our gun, you could have done other things with it. I appreciate that. We're going to take care of you always. And then the customers, but also the employees. Like, those are the things that matter to me. Like, the competitors don't care. And like, let them do stuff. Let them keep ripping us off. Like, you're always behind us. It's funny to me. But anyway, there's like, before we move on from that stuff, there's one thing I want to say. If folks think that like someone's gonna look at a fix and then like draw up the exterior in AutoCAD and then make a new fix that's gonna look just like it and work just like it, you got another thing coming, homie. Like, that thing is so freaking crazy. Like, there's stuff in the fix that, like, I actually, when Drew and Nick were talking about it and we were at the bench building it and we were looking at the parts. Two of the engineers.
Yeah, two of the engineers. There's some stuff that told me, they told me something, and I stopped, and I looked over at Nick, and I was like, who came up with this part? And he's like, oh, that was so-and-so. And I was like, okay, well, like, that's I was like, that's high level. I was like, that part's high level.
I learned.
I was like, damn.
Once I wanted to grow advanced armament beyond what I could do with my design, I started hiring engineers, and eventually Ethan Lassard. And then I realized, oh my Lord, this is why we have actual engineering. Like, I'm a pretty smart guy and I can design stuff, but not to that level. But then even with Ethan is probably the most valuable engineer in our industry. But he can get tunnel vision.
We all can.
And he can get obsessive about something. But that's why 6 of us worked on the fix. And that's the only reason the fix was great, or is great, is because so many of us worked on it. You get all these different perspectives, and people's different strengths play into different parts of the gun. And the term that has been so overused for 30 years, but synergy is what happens there, and we get a product like that. No one guy like whether it be Ethan or Nick or Drew or any of them, or any engineer at any other company, like Doug Olson, you and I are talking about him, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
I like and respect him a lot. He ain't designing something that good on his own.
No one, I mean, that's not how engineering works. Anyone who knows about engineering knows engineering is done in teams, and calcs are checked and things are reviewed.
Even now we did that. That gun, it's so unbelievable to me in that we did it in 6 months. We were shooting the first prototype and with media.
It's insane.
6 months it was in September of 2016, and we started the company in March of 2016. So in less than 6 months we were doing that. And so I've been through it now. And if you, like right now, when I told you like the end of a marathon and the exhaustion, if you told me right now that we had to do that, I would laugh at you and tell you it's impossible, we couldn't do it. And we've already done it.
Yeah.
So when people, so it's really easy to get cocky and not worry about competitors. Like, sure, you can knock off parts of the things and you can go and mass produce them. And for me with the company, I am looking long term, and I want to build brand equity. And that means, you know, value for myself for one day if I want to sell the company. But then also, and for the employees as I'm gifting them part of the company. And they've earned it. But the idea that I always want to sell out of everything we do, and I want to be able to charge a premium. And not because I want a bigger house, but the stuff that we actually do is very expensive, as you saw.
Yeah.
Like the employees that we have, the testing that we do, and developing new concepts, it costs a lot of money. And so I want to, for that to, the only way that we can, you know, continue to have the consumer confidence that we do is that the products have to be innovative and the quality has to be extreme. And you know, we make mistakes, anything, you know, in manufacturing, we make mistakes. And the customer service part is easy. If you have a problem, your fault or my fault, if you're decent about it, we totally are taking care of you. Even if you run, like you saw a gun where a guy ran over it with his own truck.
Yeah, you told that story on your podcast once about that guy. He didn't know the gun was leaning up against a trailer or something. He backed up, he mutilated this gun. I saw that gun. I was like, oh my God, he bent the barrel on that gun.
Yeah, the barrel is bent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we gave the guy a free gun. And the guy has money. He didn't even need it. Like, all he wanted to do was to not have to wait a year to get a new one. But he owned up to it and says, I am such an idiot. I did this. And I have actually done something similar. Fortunately, I didn't run over the gun, but I had it leaned against my ATV and, you know, and did the same thing in some gravel. But anyway, and he got a free gun. And all he asked was, please let me, I'll pay you today. Don't make me wait a year. It's my favorite gun. I hunt with it every week. I fucking love it. And the guy was just so cool. It makes it easy to do something nice. But, you know, those are things. The point is, so as we ramp, you know, I always want there to be a demand for one more than we've actually made, or a 30-day backlog. Like, that's, I don't want to sit on inventory, because too, even for the consumer, I don't want you to pay $3,000 for a gun of mine, and like SIG at the end of the year when we're carrying $100 million in inventory, have to fire sell it to distributors and screw you, where now you could buy one for $2,300 when you had to pay $3,000 last week. Like, I don't want that either. I want consumer confidence, but in the brand and long term, you know, it's like H&K, I always bring them up. You know, when I got into guns, Knight's Armament and H&K were the two companies that I envied and loved and respect. And, you know, HK shit costs more money. And now as I'm older and more experienced, and you being an engineer, you know why. Like, HK has engineers. They do real testing. They develop real processes and real things that make improvements, that change the industry, and things that like warfighters have confidence in. And that trickles down the consumer market. Like,
absolutely.
I want to build the HK brand. And despite, like, I don't know, it's so funny that people obsess about me. Like, I never knew like Mr. Coke or Mr. Heckler, and maybe they were great guys. Maybe they were like Nazis. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And maybe they were horrible. But regardless, the company is, you know, the sum of like the ideas, the concepts, innovation, the employees. It's not those two guys.
There's a legacy of people. I mean, there's a guy that works for HK in the U.S. He's a design engineer. He's a real engineer. He's a young man, up and coming. He's He's actually has a side project. He's making his own shotgun silencer. He's a cool dude. He joined Pew Science and supports us just because he loves the data. He believes in what we're doing. Like, that's like it knocked my socks off.
That's so cool.
His name is Riley. He's cool as shit. Shout out to Riley. I saw he joined, and I was like, oh my god, like a freaking engineer from HK, like whoa. And that, because I'm just like you, like you're not quite a decade older than me, but you're older than me. So like, but I'm still in that generation of like H&K and Knights Armament. Like I hold them up to like a standard that is a little different than a lot of other companies.
Yeah, H&K. I mean, it's the same thing. Like people, like I love Glocks, and I generally carry a Glock if I carry a pistol.
Yeah.
But for anybody that talks shit about H&K, like I will do it like marketing wise, like
Sure.
because we replaced the MP5 with the Honey Badger. If you compare those two, the MP5 is stupid. I love the MP5. They did a lot of cool shit, but obviously it's like Swiss German. Like they'd made it so complicated and so expensive that it's ridiculous. But you know, and you get like an 8-pound 9mm. Yeah. So by today's standards, the gun is silly, but it's sexy, it's iconic. I own a bunch of them and would never sell them. I love shooting them. But if I talk practically about if you need to buy a gun for home defense or the military or just for recreational shooting and you have to think about maintaining it, MP5 is stupid. Yeah. Like it just is. But it's just something about it.
It's so fun and cool.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's the smartest solution, especially now.
No, you know what I mean? They replaced it with the UMP because they were inexpensive.
The UMP's a pile of shit though.
It's a dog. And so H&K even fucks up sometimes.
Yeah.
But you know, that's listening to like the marketing department probably, and them getting someone's ear that's having to write the checks at H&K, and it's like, oh, we can do this cheap thing and use the HK name. Yeah. So then you start to chip away at that name and that brand, which sucks, because I think, you know, I even had the fear a little with the Sugar Weasel, but when we did that, because we just can't produce enough Honey Badgers to meet demand. And then it's expensive. And if you're just out of college and you're making, you know, a modest salary, I want you to be able to own a Q product.
For sure.
But the Honey Badger is just expensive to build. But we could build the Sugar Weasel, and it gives you most of the practical advantages. Like if I come down to your ranch and we're going to hunt pigs. Yeah. Like, I don't give a shit if it's the Sugar Weasel or the Honey Badger, because there's very slight weight difference, a very slight overall length difference, but all the things that are great about killing with the Honey Badger, you get
in the Sugar Weasel. Exactly.
So I'm like, I don't care which gun I have. Yeah. You know, but I didn't grow up playing Call of Duty too, so I don't have the fixation with the Honey Badger. And then also the Honey Badger, the guys it was developed for, like I worked with them for, you know, a decade and a half. Like I've been there, done that with them. So I'm not like as fascinated by that. To me, I look at it as what's really practical.
Absolutely, and that's fun. It's funny because some of these questions I had, I'm gonna go into them, but I'm gonna go out of order because I think some of them segue nicely into what we were talking about. One thing since we were talking about Knights, this was something that I have always wondered, and I don't know if you've ever told anybody.
I love Knights.
So like I know they were and still are a big inspiration to you.
Absolutely.
And you know Trey and Reed, you know their family and everything like that, which is like crazy to me that I'm even sitting here in front of you. So it's like I feel like I'm like, according to Kevin Bacon, I know.
Yeah, I mean, Reed Knight has been a mentor to me my entire career and supportive, and you know, he and I are both like severely dyslexic and can hardly like read and shit. And he is done, you know, he's one of the two guys that's probably become a billionaire in our industry. But besides that, he has done so many things for the military and the government that people don't even know about.
Exactly.
Totally inspiring.
They're a juggernaut. And so my question was, when you started Advanced Armament, you named it Advanced Armament. Was that an inspiration from Knights Armament?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and that's what I thought, but I never heard you say it.
I don't think anyone's ever asked. I never really thought about it, but
Really?
Oh yeah, but I wanted Armament because of Knights Armament.
Okay, I figured that was the case.
Because it's KAC, AAC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of my inspiration early on was either direct H&K or Knights Armament.
Oh, that was simple. I mean, I was like, why has no one ever asked that? Like, that's really weird. But when and it's something along the lines, because we talked about, and yesterday on your podcast, we talked about some of the military contracting stuff, and you mentioned it. And I have to read this question because I wrote this on the plane the other day, so I'm trying to remember what I asked. But I was going to ask, when you started winning military contracts with AAC, when did the competition with the major manufacturers really get serious? Was it prior to the bidding, like in your developmental years? Was it after you won something, or like did it take winning a particular contract to get AAC noticed, or to the point like how did that all like?
Well, no, you know what's funny is my whole career was kind of backwards. Maybe like your career with like working for the government first.
Yeah.
My career with government and military started out with the gun companies or third entities, separate entities, buying our products, and that was on behalf of classified organizations.
Right.
So I didn't even know for the first 4 or 5 years that that's what we were. I mean, I've sorted it out over time, but I didn't know. But then they started dealing directly with us, and so I got involved there. But most of the stuff, like, it was classified, and we couldn't openly discuss it or any of that. But the big thing that changed stuff is when we won the SCAR contract and beat Surefire. There were 12 companies that competed. We won the SCAR contract. And that's why Surefire got into silencers, was the SCAR program.
Right.
And Barry Duke and all had left and took all the designs from OpsInc, and they did them at Surefire. Better Manufacturing Materials came up with the B&T little mounting system, the rotating column.
Right.
But the great thing about Surefire was they marketed the shit out of silencers, and they pushed them to all, like, the white side military and white side SOCOM and big Army and stuff. But that's when it really became competitive. And then when we won the SCAR program is when we became noticed. And that whole combination of those few years is around 03 is really when the silencer market started to explode. And I tip my hat to Surefire for believing in it, spending the marketing resources, and creating a lot of awareness. And then that also led to the NRA taking a step back, where they were not supportive of silencers. And I've said in the past, the NRA, when the NRA show around this time, maybe a couple years before when it was in Charlotte, I had paid to set up a booth, and they called me a week ahead and said I was uninvited and they would refund my money. And I actually got my lifetime membership money back from the NRA then. They said they didn't want media focusing on silencers and putting guns in a bad light. So you think about that. And then within 5 years, silencers start to become more mainstream, and then younger people get good positions at the NRA, and they started pushing awareness and started getting states to legalize silencers and legalize them for hunting, and they attached it to other bills for the states. So the NRA, as much as people hate them, played the most important role in making silencers mainstream. And then I think another thing was me, fast forward a few years, we won more military contracts. Me selling, I felt like for us to go to the next level with silencers, I needed to sell it to a major gun company. Because I actually, to a company that we've discussed, 11 months before I sold AAC to Remington, I turned down selling it to that company. And I wanted it to be, I was either going to do it on my own, or if I sold it, I wanted it to be a major gun company that was a conservative company like Remington, and where they had ammo and different things where I could expand what we were doing, but that's what it would take to make silencers mainstream. And it happened, and it worked. And then we were able to develop 300 Blackout, and that was much easier because we were an ammo company.
Yeah, you have the resources.
Yeah, so that's like a decade of things.
Yeah, because it's cool, because I just always wondered, because like, you know, it's, you know, you start, you know, advanced armament, and then you go from, then the guy killing major terrorists is using your silencer on the gun. It's like, there's like stuff that happened between those two events that's like pretty significant.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny when I think about it, you bring up, you know, and I'm sure you're talking about like the Bin Laden raid and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we designed and developed 3 different things for the Bin Laden raid. And, you know, developing the Blackout flash hider was a major thing. We sold hundreds of thousands of those to the U.S. military. And that changed a lot of stuff. Not every soldier had a silencer, but the flash hider hid their signature, allowed them to kill more efficiently and to be protected from enemy fire. And that was a major thing we did. And that was a huge R&D effort that I forget about. Robert Silvers led that one.
Right.
And that changed our industry. Now look at all the 3-prong flash hider. I mean, it's a copy of it. You know, 300 Blackout was one. You know, like things we did for, you know, like we did, if you look in some of the books that the guys that were on that raid wrote, and there's pictures of their kid in there. Look on the end of that silencer. That's a rebar cutter that we designed.
Oh, I remember that.
To go through the rebar at that compound.
That's so cool.
So we've done so many things. It's like, we were like, Advanced Armament became a little mini Knights armament. You know, Knights was winning the huge contracts.
But you were like the black contracts and like the more specialized, smaller special group contracts.
And it's where Reed Knight started, but what that manifested into was, you know, Reed was a small mom and pop shop like we were, He had a great idea, great relationships with those guys, and he would develop things. But once he was doing, the flip up sites and selling $250,000 at a time, and helping on a bigger scale, he didn't devote the resources and all
Right.
to the little small project. It didn't make sense for him, because at that point, it's like SIG now, when you've got a big monster to feed and you got 2,000 employees, or you're in a 1,000,000 square foot building, like, it'd be easy for me to not get paid for 6 months. But I didn't carry that kind of overhead.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it was all very good timing, but it was passionate, and I was motivated, and I continued to collect a team. I didn't micromanage, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own. And we got lucky to, we earned it, but to deal with those groups. And then we also got lucky in the sense of, after 9/11, there was so many resources given to these groups and organizations to go kill all these bad guys.
Exactly.
And so that was just a timing
Yeah.
thing that you can't predict either.
I mean, the same thing happened in my industry, outside the gun industry. In my professional practice, after 9/11, the anti-terrorism design, ATFP, anti-terrorism force protection world, for blast
Yeah, it
testing
blows up.
and
Yeah.
everything that we do. I mean, the amount of research that we've done, the amount of products that we've evaluated, the amount of methodologies that we've created to evaluate protective systems for personnel, it was all like spurred on and accelerated due to those events.
Yeah, because of that attack.
Exactly.
So there was
really Oklahoma City before too,
Well,
but that was like another, like, Oklahoma City really spurred it, and then when the 9/11 happened, it was like in the Pentagon. Can't talk about it all, but
so you understand. So, like, being in these industries, there's always events, but I think I was going to be successful in one way or another. Like, having so many people that are so much smarter than me that work for me now, and like, why am I always the boss? When time goes on, you get more confident, and like, whether that happened or not, I'm so passionate about it and so competitive, I would have been successful, whether that had happened or not. To what degree, and we define success. Like, for me, success, I get to do what I want. I feel fulfilled by it. It's my 27th year doing it, and I'm just as passionate about the new projects as I was when I was 19 years old.
it's a dream.
Yeah, and so, like, I understand, like, for me to be fulfilled and me to be successful, when I own 70% of our company investors, I'm 30%, talking to them recently, and talking about the future, and we've already had a company that wanted to acquire the company, and I wasn't interested, because now I have such a team, and it's not the money. Like, the company could sell it tomorrow, and I would have, I've already did okay with advanced armament. I could sell the company today or tomorrow and have more money than I need the rest of my life. Like, I don't care about being a billionaire. I have a pretty modest life, relatively speaking. I have no debt. Like, it's pretty simple. My kids are getting older. It's like, whatever. But I told them, like, the way I view the company in the future is, I want us to go whatever. I want to work another 10, 20 years, full steam. And if I end up with less money, but we develop all these things, like, I'll continue to put my personal resources into the company. Like, I would gladly end up with 25% of the money that I could if all we did was focus on production, as opposed to I get to continue innovation. That's why I'm the chief innovation officer now. Like, that's what I want. Like, I don't need $100 million at the end of the day. Like, I probably need to go on every hunt in the world I ever want to go on, and take my woman wherever, and be able to afford, whatever college for my kids. Like, maybe I need $20 million. Like, I don't know, it's still a lot of money, but I could get that now. Like, I want to innovate. That's where my passion lies, and that's how I feel fulfilled.
It's awesome, man. So, like, I want to go back and ask something, since we were talking about the history. There's actually two things, but the one was an early one. I was thinking, like before advanced armament, like maybe even when you had just started advanced armament, like, what was a silencer that, like, you really wish you made back then, but, like, never got around to it? Like, not something now that, like, but, like, back then you were thinking, I'm gonna do this, and you never did.
Oh, when we started? The one thing that I wish, and it's hard to say, like, I don't have a lot of regrets. The black box.
We just talked about that on the drive.
Yeah, I was in, but you know what happened was we're in the middle of the Black Vox development, which was an eccentric kind of square 9mm can that Silencer Co. kind of took and did their
It inspired the Osprey.
Yeah, and we were doing that, but then we were funded by an organization that wanted a 9mm handgun silencer that was 120 dB, and we had a certain time frame, and they gave us a budget, and that's how the Tyrant 9 was developed.
Right.
And so, and it turned out, and it was a failure actually. Failure in the sense we were trying to get to 120 dB, and we got to like mid to high.
With the metering technology back then, for everyone listening, because they're going to be like, "Oh, wait, is he talking about?" No, he's talking about back in the day,
B&K meter,
old school,
2209.
Yeah.
This mill standard testing from back in the day.
Exactly.
And we didn't get there, but what we did do with that was develop a 9mm silencer that was many times better than anything ever offered commercially or to the military. And it didn't use wipes, and it's still the quietest until we just did the Erector 9, the quietest, and this was 12 years ago, the quietest 9mm silencer that I've ever metered.
I know, that's what people are saying, and it's so cool. And since I haven't even tested a Tyrant 9, like I was saying yesterday, like I'm gonna get one of your Tyrant 9s from inventory and test it too, just because like it's so cool, and everyone knows it's quiet, so it's gonna be cool to see like the real numbers about it, so people can see, okay, this is super quiet, and this is what the data shows.
Yeah.
So if you're claiming something different than this, get out.
Yeah. It's true.
You know what I mean?
There was that, and we were also working on the integral pistol based on the Remington 51. That was a fixed barrel, but delayed opening, lock breech. And one of the designers that was working on it with me and Ethan, he's the one that ended up doing the Silencer Co. gun. But at the time, the design, Ethan is a real engineer, our gun was many times better than what they produce. And with this being said, I dog Silencer Co. a lot, and I think a lot of their products are kind of garbage, and they make a lot of good products, but they've always been light on engineering, heavy on marketing. That pistol, to me, what do they call Maxim 9?
Oh, I think it's the Max. It should. As I look over and see the coolest, one of the coolest things for those of you listening, I'm in Kevin's kitchen right now, and there's some Maxim package tubes sitting on the freaking credenza.
Before you go, I have to show you some of my Maxim silencers.
Cool.
But we were working on that, and then when I was thrown out of advanced armament and all that stopped, one of the designers contracted by Silencer Co. and did that gun. And to me, like the gun's a flop. Part of it was timing, part of it was they fucked it up. But that's one of the best products they've ever done. But the integral handgun would have been one. And now I don't think it's quite as useful. Kind of like the full auto shotgun back in the 80s. The Assault 12 was awesome and it was needed. Now probably not so much.
Yeah.
So I guess those are the products.
Okay. I think we have, gosh, was I supposed to leave it like 13:30? Like 1:30 or what do you think?
Your flight's at 3:45?
Yeah.
You can leave, it's going to take you 30 minutes to get there.
Oh, I was thinking an hour for some reason.
No, it'll take you most 4
Oh, because I'm closer than I was going to the shop.
Oh yeah, we're 20 minutes from the shop.
Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. So we have a little more time.
So probably another 15 minutes.
All right, cool. I'm trying to. I was gonna talk about Al Paulson and everything, but we did that. We did that on your podcast. So if people want to listen to that, they'll be able to do that. I'm trying to see stuff that like. I want people to know certain things, and I'm super curious about stuff. Let's see. I know I was going to talk about like a material selection thing. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yep.
This is a really good topic, and I think a lot of people are going to want to understand this. So when you guys really started pushing Inconel as a material, like for like the heavy duty use silencers at AAC, like at what point did you want to get away from it when it wasn't required? Like for example, like we know that like design and requirements dictate material selection. Like, and if you can get away with something cheaper and simple, it's like usually smart to do that. So like at what point were you like relieved, like if at all, to not focus on extreme durability and focus instead on practicality for like the end user? Like when did you have that revelation?
We had it at the time.
Okay.
You know, Nikes was using a 600 series Inconel, and we went to 700 series. what the military was doing in terms of big Army and them writing requirements, and some were sort of unrealistic. It causes heavier silencers, more expensive, more complicated. And it's just like the mounting system. The Army will decide if it's big Army or something, well, we have to have a quick detach silencer with a secondary latch. Well, secondary latch adds complication and all these things. And it's like, okay, well, why do you need that? You only need the secondary latch because if the first one doesn't work. So I think once we went through that for a while, and some of it was kind of frustrating, and then we realized, hey, we could make this less expensive so every soldier could get one, and easier to make and quieter and all these things if we do this design, but they would want it to survive, like 500 round belt through a 249 or whatever. And it's like, no one's gonna do that. So when you start letting them have that input, and it was even that way some at SIG, and I don't even know if I want to get to like your question, but I think in starting this company, Ethan and I have been involved in so much actual testing with the military, and not like your National Guard units or anything, but like the guys with all the money. And them learning and us learning with them, and we started to see, okay, what about bore size helps a lot? What about internal diameter? Internal volume helps a lot because temperature-wise.
Exactly.
So like you need Inconel because you have this small volume silencer, internal volume, where you're doing this high rate of fire on a 223 short or 5.56 short barrel. And these are the problems. Okay, and they use a flash hider. Well, what if we use a muzzle brake and we have twice the internal volume and we make the bore 30% large? There's like all these
it all scales like exponentially. I've talked about it before with the volume.
So where we got to, and I think part of it was kind of arrogance and part of it was practical and just common sense. Okay, so and as they started to have more confidence in us, the military-wise, and we had confidence in ourselves, and then I use silencers every day in my personal life. So I know what I want. I don't want a 25-ounce silencer on the end of my 4-pound gun. I don't care how great the silencer is. But we had them start making priority lists of what do you actually want to do. Like we don't go to SOCOM and tell them how to like enter a building and go like shoot somebody. Like you just tell us what you want a product to do. Don't tell us, don't spec materials, don't spec latches, don't do any of this. You just tell us. And once we got that, they believed it, they allowed us to do that, and then that's carried over into the commercial side. And I think even with SIG, like that was a big Army contract, the first silencer we did there, and it had to have a secondary latch, and it had to be an Acme thread that they could do in like 3 turns, whatever the spec was. And it's like, you're ending up with a lesser product that's heavier and more complicated. Like, what do you really want to do? Like, oh, you think you're going to use the silencer 20% of the time? Like, bullshit, you're not. Like, your guys aren't going to take the silencer off. We've already been down this road with the groups that can do whatever they want. And this is how you're going to end up doing it. So let's build the proper system. And I just think it's that. And then some of it's commercially. It's like if we build a $2,000 silencer, how many are we going to sell? But I can build a silencer that does 99.9% of stuff that's half the weight. So then it's more practical and guys are going to use it more. And it does 99.9% of the stuff that you need it to do. Like that's the product to build for the commercial market.
Yeah, I think that's you did. I think you did answer my question.
Maybe,
I think you did because I'm just trying to get people to think about more practicality, and that's like pretty much where that question was coming from.
Okay, titanium silencer. The way we build it, and everybody builds them like us now. The rear mounts are rifle cans, has all your information engraved on it. They're tubeless. It's a welded assembly. If you wear it out, like I challenge you, put the trash pan, it's titanium silencer and cherry bomb on a short barrel 5.56. Shoot the shit out of it.
Yeah.
You wear it out, you send it to me. I'm going to cut that core off, weld a new one on it, send it back.
Oh, dude, a cool thing. This dude, I think he said he messaged you. He did an erosion model of one of the Q silencers. He reverse engineered the cherry bomb. He put the titanium on it. He was telling me about it. He put in his simulation. He's an engineer, and he shot 5.56 through it in the simulation. And the amount of rounds it takes to cause erosion that's not even significant is so many rounds that it's like people don't even understand.
They don't understand. I mean, it's all marketing stuff, and it's like I get it because I love marketing. But you call it rugged or even Dead Air originally with their Sandman. Like they don't sell that now. They sell the silencers that they copy of ours, and it's like okay, well. You're gonna Why do you need stellite? Like, why do you need Inconel? It's like people hear this and they're just sheep.
It's
and
like only
oh,
if you're doing something
that's
that
the
requires
thing that
it.
makes it durable. Okay, well, when they have half the volume, the silencer gets so much hotter. And then too, what amount of erosion is affecting what's important to you? Like, are we measuring sound? Like, what are we measuring? Like, to me, like when you think about like the Dead A or something, when they copied the Trash Panda with their Nomad originally, and it was a steel silencer. And it was like, oh, it's going to be more durable. Now they do titanium. But okay, is it? Like, how many rounds are you going to shoot? Well, theirs, if they open the bore up a little better, would be even better. But also them putting a scoop in the first baffle, we would never do that because it's bad for accuracy, it's bad for point of impact shift, and things that actually matter to me with my silencer. Like, I want the most accuracy I can get. So we're not running tight bores. We're not putting, asymmetry in the blast baffle or the last thing the bullet sees when it leaves the silencer. They're all symmetrical. And that's for a reason. It cost us some sound, but it provides an overall better product for the average guy.
Yeah, and that's I speculated, I don't know if it was last podcast I did or one before, I was speculating when I saw the new titanium Nomad, and I was like, I bet it'll be quiet, but I don't know what the accuracy will be, and I guess we'll see. I mean,
we'll see.
I don't know. Someone will test it.
Same thing with their mount. When I started saying a year ago, they'll copy the Cherry Bomb within the year. They'll copy it, and you see they release that. It's like, it's not because I'm good at marketing they copied. It's because my guys are good at engineering. Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's why we're a leader. The products are the best.
I mean, yeah, the Cherry Bomb, it's like it has like the least amount of material you need to like actually make it work. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so you're worried about titanium? Well, okay, you're going to buy that with a flash hider. Like the Cherry Bomb is a muzzle brake. It's like it's a
diffusing element. It's like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, heat treated 17.4. That takes the majority of the erosion. You can replace it for $75 retail.
Let's look. I think we're just gonna have to do this again.
I'll do them quick.
Well, no, we're gonna have to do this again. But I just have one. I'll just do one last question, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we can do a couple of them. This is kind of an off the wall question, but it's like with the exception of any roller delayed weapon. So forget about HK.
Yeah.
What is your favorite submachine gun in the following three categories? Rate of fire, smoothness and shooting comfort, and then like cool factor or other stuff.
The Beretta 38A all the way up to the Beretta 12S, the best subgun.
Cool.
Based on what you said.
Just everything.
Everything. The best shooting, reliable, simple. The rate of fire is great.
Can you describe it for folks who don't?
So it's an open bolt, and so the 38A was 1938, prior to the war. It was, maybe it's a 10, 12-inch barrel, 9mm barrel shroud compensator on the end. Tube design, open bolt, very simple, used a wood stock, full-length stock, 2 triggers, one for semi-auto, one for full. The rate of fire is about 600 rounds a minute.
Which is pretty cool.
So good.
That's like my Mac with the tungsten bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
but not. I mean, it's not as smooth as the Beretta, but it is. It is the same speed.
So smooth, and the mags are easy to load. So unlike the Sten, because they're not a single position feed, it's a 2-position feed.
It's a double feed. Yeah.
So easier to load. And then in the war, they started making like the 38-42, and all they did, because it's wartime, remove the shroud, remove the muzzle brake, shorten up the stock. The guns get simpler and uglier. Still shoot great. And so then cool. the Model 12 was that same design, but a stamped sheet metal, including the lower and a folding stock, so a modernized one. And I have it with a barrel nut replacement silencer made by SCRC, Tim Bixler. It's a coaxial design.
We were talking about him earlier today.
Yeah, he did the Mark 9 silencers. He designed and built all the stuff originally for AWC that used that old technology, and it's super quiet and shoots the best. And they put modern ergonomics, like you have a standard selector, like thumb selector and stuff. It's got a grip safety, which I think those are kind of dumb, but and the stock is just a simple wire stock, but it's good enough. Absolutely my favorite subgun.
That's cool, man. I've shot some, like I haven't shot that, but like I've shot some subguns, and I always wonder.
Well, that generation, like the Sterling is a great gun, but in shooting it in ergonomics, it's not as good as the Beretta. Like there's several in that generation. All the companies made them. This Steyr made the MPI 69 or something like that, and it's a great one, but not as good as the Beretta.
Okay, last question,
Yeah.
maybe. If you could have any platform there is in 22 long rifle, in the rimfire, instead of its native cartridge, what would be your pick? Why would you pick it? What would you do with it?
So wait, say again?
So like if you could have any platform, like take a platform that like that isn't rimfire, but make it rimfire instead. Like what platform would it be? And why?
I don't know. I love rimfire.
Same.
I mean, I don't know. I've got a Tippmann 1919 A4, which is a 22 belt-fed rimfire. I have a Trejo, which is a Mexican little 1911 style pistol that's select fire.
Well, you have those, but I'm saying take something that's not rimfire.
I don't. What I was trying to say was like I have.
I guess you kind of have everyone that you.
The PPSH or the PPS 50, which is a 22 version of the Russian Pepeshov, the PPSH. The Strum Fed, I have that full auto. I have an AK full auto 22.
Oh, really?
I have an H&K G3 that's full auto 22.
Oh.
So I have an MP5 with a 22 conversion kit that's full auto. Like I have I have a belt fed 22. Like I have every platform. Like I don't know. A pin gun, like I'm trying to think of any type gun. Like my Mark 79 grenade launcher, the M79. I've got some of those, and I have this thing called a beehive.
Oh, I've seen the beehive. You put the 22 rounds in the freaking grenade.
It holds like, you can put in just like 6 or 12 or 18, and I have that. Like,
yeah,
so I don't know.
That's
like 22
cool.
is freaking great. I mean, hopefully we'll get to the point with Q. I want to do, because we don't, in my opinion, make a great target. And I like the Ruger 2245 and the Browning Buckmark. They're good, but we don't have anything the quality and design of a lot of the European 22s, like Hammerleys and stuff like that, and shoots. I want to do a semi-auto 22 rifle that is super high quality. You buy it for the rest of your life. Because in America, we think that 22, because the shells are so cheap, that the gun should be $300, so you can't end up with anything great. I want to do that, and I want to do a 22 pistol that is online with some of the European stuff, like the real Walthers and the Hammerleys.
Yeah,
and
those
stuff
nice
like that.
Hammerleys, those are
and
cool.
So I want to design those. Like I love 22 that much. You know, we're going to do a 22 conversion for the Fix, which will be super
That's
cool.
going to be crazy, just because of like how it's going to feel. I mean, I guess the only thing I was going to ask, do you want to say anything about like your new steel silencers?
Oh yeah, so we're doing, you know, an idea. We can only, part of it's diversifying. And part of it is trying to mass produce the silencers. It's more difficult with the titanium because of sourcing the titanium.
Yeah, and you showed me some stuff about how you're going to make some of the steel, which is cool.
So the idea was twofold. Make something that's a little more of an entry level price-wise.
Yeah.
And to be able to have a totally different silencer line that we can actually grow and mass produce. We don't have all our eggs in one basket.
Right.
So the steel silencers, the goals were to make, the goal was to make basically the titanium silencers in steel have the same weight and a lot of the characteristics and changes for certain reasons. Like we had to do it for the new 8.6 and 338 stuff. So we decided to go steel because we can make it the weight of the titanium silencers that are on the market in steel with some newer technology we're working on. But we also needed a bigger muzzle device for 8.6 and 338 diameter, so it kind of made sense. And then it gives us the ability to do a flash hider. So for like the 5.56 cans. So we're gonna have the steel silencer. They're 1 3/4 in diameter. They weigh just about exactly what the titanium stuff weighs. It's kind of the industrial stuff. Fully circumferentially robot welded. No, we're not going to EDM the bores because we're able to design these in a way where we don't have to.
Nice.
Which helps us to lower the cost. There's some new features to it, but we'll make the real reason initially was to make them for part of the military requirement for the 8.6. So, you know, a 338 diameter bullet. And make it as quiet as possible, but then we're going to have it, you know, less baffles, and we'll have a 30 caliber like a Trash Panda, but it'll be more affordable. And then we'll also scale it down a little bit, and that'll be the 5.56 can, and we're able to use a flash hider with that if we choose to.
Yeah, I think that's like that's one of the things. Obviously, people are excited about 8.6 and the 5.56 can. Like people are screaming for a 5.56 can.
Yeah,
So it's
it's so funny. Before, when at Advanced Armament, we sold probably 20 to 1 5.56 cans over 30 cal. But when we developed 300 Blackout and it's available commercially now, it's flipped. It's like 50 to 1 30 cal over 5.56.
Yeah.
So people say that, but I don't know that many.
I have
5.56
no
will
idea.
sell. But we're going to do it because there's a military customer that will benefit from it. And it's easy for us to do now.
One thing you actually mentioned, you said it kind of quickly. When you said 8.6, you said 8.6 military requirement. So the 8.6 is there's like a government requirement.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of the things that we've done. There was no requirement for the Honey Badger. Like I did 300 Blackout at the request of the Navy in SOCOM. They were working with 300 Whisper, which I've said a million times and people want to ignore. And
People say he said he invented it, and then J.D. Jones did. But
well, I mean, we did invent the part that makes 300 Blackout work.
Work in a semi-auto gun, and
So, but J.D. Jones didn't want to work with anyone. He didn't want it to become this. And you don't own a cartridge; you own the name. And we improved it, made it work, and he's benefited greatly financially from this. But we did that, and the group that we were working with only wanted uppers for their guns, and that's what we delivered. And the Honey Badger became a requirement because I understood their procurement process, and they didn't want an upper for their gun, but we could replace the MP5 SD. So I drove that. It wasn't military. So when I say military requirement, I took this from Reed Knight too. I don't wait for the military to drop a requirement and then go compete with everyone else. I figure out the groups that can do stuff on their own and sole source and stuff like that, and that are open to new technology. And we wanted to do 8.6 since we did 300.
Of course.
And we started with 338 Federal, so people say, they didn't invent 8.6. Okay, but going from 338 Federal, you can't use that because the case is too long, can't put the big long subsonic bullets in it, feeding the magazine. So, but the 5 years of labor that it's taking to do 8.6 to get everything right,
dude, and the stuff they're doing that we can't talk about, but I mean the stuff they're doing with 8.6. Oh my God!
Basically, Ethan and I have connections with organizations and military groups throughout the world from past work, and they stay in touch with us, and we're working on something new, and that's how this happened. We were going to do 8.6. We don't, I love that the military is involved. I love that ammo companies are involved now. We're going to drive the train, and and it's interesting when military got involved. Like one unit, for instance, only cared about it being subsonic. That's great, but we're not going to sell that commercially. The way 300 Blackout was successful is that they're super and subsonic, and that it's a barrel change and it's full mag capacity and it's reliable. That's where stuff like 6.8 will never be successful. I said it at the time, and it's proven true. Like 375 Raptor, like that's cool if you want to shoot something with it, but what's the delivery system? What's the supersonic? How do you feed it in a magazine? What's your mag capacity? Do you have to open the bolt up? Is it going to feed in an AR? Like there's all these questions, and like I don't need to explain to everyone, and I don't give a shit. But we're going to develop this. It's going to change hunting. It's going to change parts of the way certain military groups operate, and they have input just like ammo companies do. But at the end of the day, I own it. I make the final decisions, and I want to do it all encompassing. I always want to support killing terrorists.
Yeah.
And I always want to support the commercial market. And I always want to be able to feed the families that rely on me, and I don't ever want to lay anyone off. And this is my job. And and I welcome it. And we're at the point too, I want to support the military, and I loved doing it years ago and for years, but we want to drive our own train. And I think Ethan and I pride ourselves on coming up with things like the Fix or with 8.6 they don't even know they need until we're halfway down the road. Then, hey, here's this thing. If you guys are interested, you're welcome to have some input now. And if you're not, totally cool.
Cool, because we already have this awesome product.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where we are. And so that's delaying things like a year or so, but the input is so valuable, and these are some of the leaders for NATO, nation militaries and that really affect change and that actually shoot people. And I want their input and I want them to use it, but it's got to make sense for us too.
Okay. With that, it's 13:45.
Yeah,
dude,
gotta go pretty soon.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about that is where the commercial market's going to be excited. This will be the first real subsonic medium range hunting cartridge that, you know, well, 45-70 was subsonic, killed buffalo at like 500 meters. I get it.
Sure.
But, you know, that you'll be able to shoot out of an AR platform or the fix or a bolt gun, that you will get 1 MOA accuracy with subsonic at 200-300 meters. And with the twist, the energy on target is unbelievable.
Yeah, and the rotational energy and the linear, it's going to be something that I don't think small arms has had.
No, because, you know, with subsonic, with those big subsonic bullets, they don't ever really slow down. Like you're shooting at 1,000.
No.
So you always get that energy, but now rotating it,
Yeah.
you get such an increase in energy, and we get accuracy now, because and we know we use the fast twist barrels, and it helps the bullets to expand. So, you know, ask David Stark to see one of the 8.6 bullets that he shot in JUL, and you tell me that any animal is going to walk away from that. You know, when I was doing some shooting with it for accuracy not that long ago, I had a mini fix in 300 blackout, and I'm shooting a steel target 2 and 300 meters. And then I had an 8.6. And so I'm doing a lot of stuff with it. But when you shoot subsonic 22 or 9 millimeter, and then you shoot subsonic 300 with, you know, a bullet weighing twice as much as a subsonic 9, like the audible difference on a target at 100 meters, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It made the difference between 300 blackout on steel at 2 and 300 meters, subsonic 220 grain bullet, compared to a 320 grain bullet spinning fast out of an 8.6 at that same distance. The difference sounds like a 22 and a 308 hitting a piece of steel.
He's so much momentum.
So you just know how devastating that's going to be. And then you've seen the gel tests, like with the fast twist, and it's like the
it's
trauma.
stuff that we're still trying to learn. Like we're just like, what? So
yeah. So that long rant is basically how this is going to benefit hunters. And now with the arm brace, you have 12-inch barrels that we're delivering more energy with the 8.6 out of a 12-inch barrel than a 20-inch 308.
yeah.
So that it's a game changer if you like to hunt.
I mean, it's going to change hunting because you put the silencer on it. Your barrel's longer, but your barrel was short to begin with. So now you have the same or shorter compact package. You put more energy on target. It's quieter. You can communicate with your son when you're teaching him to hunt. You don't have to wear hearing protection.
5.5 pounds.
It's light.
In and out of a vehicle, and you're hunting blind. You can maneuver it like everything.
You can carry more gear. It means you can carry more ammo. It means that everyone wins, and it's not just gun guys. It's like everybody.
Everybody. So.
Thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much. I look forward to doing it again.
This has been like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure I'll decompress on the airplane and like freak out or something. But like as like a gun guy, a gun nerd, and a fan of pretty much, I don't know, all things technical.
Oh well, thank you. And I'm just not surprised. Like I know, and when guys like you come to visit and you get to talk to the engineers and you see what we're doing, it reinforces why I do it. To see somebody like you with your technical understanding be so excited about what we're doing. So I can't wait to have you back.
But also, I would
say,
round. But personally, you welcome me into your home. You share your time with me, and I think you're my friend now.
We are friends.
That's cool.
It's great. This is an instance. Thank you. It's an instance in the industry where it's good to make friends.
Yeah, it's like I didn't think going into this. I was like, well, Kevin's cool. Like, he's been really, we talk with each other and stuff. But like, I don't know. I feel like I made a friend. So like,
oh well, thank you.
It's like kind of weird.
I feel the same. Well, it is a thing. Like I am who I am.
Yeah.
And the shit that I will say to anybody or any company. But yeah, I'm, a friend, and I'm a father, and I'm a regular dude, and I treat people well, and but if people lie to customers or employees or other companies mislead the consumer, that pisses me off because I've dedicated my life to this.
Yeah.
And not to make money, but to affect proper change and improve things. And so when people lie for the purposes of making money and stuff like that, I get fucking personally offended by it.
Yeah, and you do, and I understand that, and now more than ever I understand. And your employees, they've talked to me about it too, and they understand that they get upset too, and everyone, these are real people. Yeah. Everyone's a real person, and so I'm here to tell you guys, Kevin's real. He's a real dude. All right.
Well, thank you.
I'll talk to you guys later. Say bye.
Goodbye.
All right.